Now, if you go on Slate's website, they have removed the under $20,000 pricing. I knew it. Okay, I said it. I said it first. I said they're going to get rid of the $7,500 tax credit. Slate depends on the $7,500 tax credit. Now, the $7,500 tax credit is going away. September 30th, Slate's expected in 2026. Boom, it's not happening. The Slate makes no sense, all right? It's a bare bones truck for the price of a Maverick, and you can get a Maverick and get much more in a Maverick. I'm not trying to hate on Slate. I'm just saying that it makes the Slate a much harder sell. Hey guys, welcome back to Out of Spec Bits. Slate, as well as a few other automakers, depend on the $7,500 tax credit to sell or sell leases of their vehicles, okay? It is officially going away. All right, it's gone. All right, it passed the House, passed the Senate. Donald Trump, July 4th, signed it. It is going to be a law. Now, September 30th, the $7,500 tax credit is going away. This is going to affect quite a few automakers, particularly one automaker, that being Slate. And I picked Slate specifically because when we went over to Slate's little studio to view the Slate truck in person, Timon and I, and get a really cool look at this truck, we talked about everything from manufacturing to production, and the $7,500 tax credit was topic of discussion. And they were assured that the $7,500 tax credit was staying, okay? All of these automakers have lobbyists and stuff, I guess, in Washington, and they were like, no, $7,500 tax credit is staying. Welp, they were wrong, okay? The tax credit went away. And Slate, for the longest, has touted under $20,000 for the price of the truck, right? I think it's like just a $19,900 starting price. The truck would be $26,000, $27,000. You take off $7,500, that brings it under $20,000. Well, the tax credit's now going away. This truck that was expected to be under $20,000 is now going to be probably well above that. Slate said that their truck price would be like $27,500. That was the expected price, somewhere around there, right? It wasn't going to actually start at $20,000. They would get to that $20,000 or sub $20,000 price by including the $7,500 tax credit. Well, the $7,500 tax credit is going away. So, how does that make the Slate truck appealing? Because now it's not $20,000. It's a $27,000, a $28,000 truck starting price. And, I can't help but look at something like the Ford Maverick and its features and, the hybrid version, its efficiency, its utility, and comparing the two. And you get the Slate, rear-wheel drive, it's electric, short range, it could have decent charging. There's everything you have to kind of buy yourself, whether it's heated seats, heated steering wheel, speakers. These are things you have to add on. That's more cost. Paint all this, more cost. Ford Maverick just comes standard with speakers and a infotainment screen, and just other creature comforts just comes standard. Slate is not doing that. It makes, at least to me, the Slate truck a much less appealing vehicle, which is unfortunate. Which makes me think that, is this the end of Slate? Is Slate dead before they even got here? Is that just it for them? But it isn't just Slate that, is being affected by the $7,500 tax credit. Now, I think this is going to particularly affect vehicles that are being leased. According to Cox Automotive, 67% of EV purchases are leases. 67%. That's pretty much 70% of all EVs bought are leases. They're getting that $7,500 tax credit. This could really hurt EV adoption. For instance, I leased my Rivian, got a really good deal on it, bunch of discounts on top of the $7,500 tax credit that goes onto leased EVs. Kind of a loophole, right? And the Rivian doesn't qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit, but if you lease it and then it's claimed by the automaker, then it gets the full $7,500 tax credit, something like that. Point being, this vehicle was cheaper for me to get access to because of the $7,500 tax credit. It's the same for a ton of other people that are leasing their EVs. And so $7,500 increase in the price of your lease, this is going to hurt a lot of people. We know how common leasing is for electric vehicles nowadays. I say it's an emerging technology. And so things are changing every single month, every single year. The new model year is always better than the next. And it kind of hurts the used market a bit. People just want the newest thing. And at some point, I believe that will stabilize. Things won't, be moving as fast as they are now. But right now, leasing just seems like a very good, viable option. In 2-3 years, you just get the new one, and that's great. Your monthly payment is often lower than just financing. Well, that's gonna kind of change now that the $7,500 tax credit is going away. We could see many leases be the same price as, if not more, than just financing the vehicle, which I wonder, how is that going to affect EV adoption? Are we going to see people financing EVs? And for those that don't want to finance an EV or buy an EV outright, are they just going to buy a gas vehicle instead? This, I think in my head, affects a lot of our cheaper EVs. For instance, the Chevy Equinox EV, one of the cheapest, best EVs out there that you can buy new, it qualifies for the full $7,500 tax credit. And GM did a lot to enable this vehicle to be at its price point and still have the components to meet the $7,500 tax credit. Well, that's going away, which maybe might help GM because they could probably, there's going to be tariffs, but maybe they could have a different manufacturing strategy that makes the vehicle cheaper, where some of those critical components and minerals aren't going to be from the United States or one of the United States trading partners. It'll be from somewhere else, and that'll help them save cost. But the point being, you have something like the Chevy Equinox. We have the Boltium, the Chevy Bolt on the Ultium platform that was expected to also get the $7,500 tax credit. The Model 3, the Model Y, the EV6, the Ioniq 5. Guys, Kia Hyundai went through hell to get the Ioniq 5 and the EV6 the tax credit. All right, they built an entire manufacturing facility in Georgia just to get the tax credit, and that's going away now. And the production of that facility is strictly for the Ioniq vehicles and the Kia EV vehicles. And so now that that's kind of going away, what are the plans there? Now that we're also seeing some of the emission standards kind of be lifted, penalties, are we going to see more hybrid and gas-powered vehicles coming out of that facility now that, EVs may not be their main focus anymore? But these cheaper EVs that you and I love, that many of you drive, are no longer going to get the $7,500 tax credit. Then it goes further. The used vehicles, EVs under $25,000 could get up to $4,000 off the price of the vehicle. And that's great for people in the used market who are looking for an EV. I just made a video on this channel talking about my favorite top 10 EVs that you can find under $25,000. There's a huge market out there for EVs under $25,000, still under warranty, that are great. You get that vehicle, $4,000 off now, it's $21,000. That helps so many people who don't want to buy an $80,000 truck. You want something normal. And so that's just going away as well. And so I think this is generally going to impact a ton of companies. It impacts Rivian with the R2, which I'm sure they were banking on the $7,500 tax credit helping sell the R2. This was something that RJ pointed out in the presentation. They expected R2 to be, they engineered R2 to have the $7,500 tax credit in mind. Well, now that's not the case anymore. is that good or bad for Rivian? Does Rivian now see that, okay, we can remove some other manufacturing processes, we can help, cut out some American, manufacturing processes directly, even though we're still having, tariff discussions, but we can decrease the price of R2 without the $7,500 tax credit. It won't be, R2 is expected $45,000. So instead of it being 37,500, it will be $42,000 no credit. So, right, 45,000 minus $7,500, that's 37,500. But no credit, maybe they can decrease the price to just 42,000, right? Maybe they're just able to decrease the price of the vehicle overall. But you have companies that are relying on the credit to sell vehicles, to lease vehicles, and now that's kind of being stripped away. Again, this really made me think of Slate, because Slate's, and I guess that's just a bad business model, no? You built the entire company on the basis of this credit, and then you have an administration that doesn't want the credit, and it's now going away. What are you going to do? I'm really looking forward to hearing how, this affects Slate as a whole, as well as, our other EVs and EV companies that were leveraging and depending on the $7,500 tax credit. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. So much is happening in the world of electrification. The supply chains for EVs, cars as a whole, is huge. And then the infrastructure is huge. And so when you get a new administration, when anything happens with a new automaker, a new corporation, these industry shifts can totally shake up the game, and they make for some interesting topics. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Out of Spec Bits, and I'll see you guys in the next one.